She said, "I'm going out with my coworkers. Don't wait up for me tonight." "On our anniversary trip," I replied. "Enjoy your night." Then I checked us out of the hotel, packed her suitcase, and sent it to her favorite coworker's address with a note. "She's your problem now." When she returned to an empty room and realized she had no way home, reality finally hit her. I, 52 male, own a chain of auto body shops, and I've spent 3 decades fixing machines other people destroyed. I can walk up to a chassis and tell you if it's off by a millimeter. I live my life the same way. Structure matters. Integrity matters. If the frame is bent, the ride won't be straight, and eventually it crashes. I don't drive bent frames. I had been seeing Taylor, 34, a pharmaceutical sales representative, for nearly 2 years. She was polished, energetic, and seemed like someone who had her life set in order. We met when she brought her Audi in for repairs after a fender bender, and I liked her determination. I thought she wanted a partner, not a savior. For the last 6 months, she was practically living at my ranch-style home on 5 quiet acres, though she held on to her small city apartment because of work and because she didn't want to lose her rent-controlled lease. All her official mail still went there, and she refused to change her address because my county has higher vehicle taxes. But 2 months ago, something shifted. Tyler entered the equation, her 35-year-old best friend from college who had recently come back to the city after a divorce. I met him once. Soft handshake, eyes that wandered, and the type who loves calling himself an empath while actually feeding on the validation of women. He was the midnight texter who always had anxiety, but could never help anyone move a couch. Soon she was taking long calls with him during movies, going on long lunches, and texting him past 11 at night. I addressed it 3 weeks ago. I told her clearly that I don't handle triangles, and I don't compete with other men for my partner's time. I told her the frame was showing stress and it needed fixing. She waved it off and gave the standard lines. I was insecure, controlling, misreading things. He was like a brother. He was going through a hard time. I let it go, but inside, I could already hear the metal groaning. Yesterday was our 2nd anniversary. I planned the evening a month ahead. Private booth at her favorite steakhouse, a vintage Cabernet ready, and a pair of diamond stud earrings in my pocket. Not a proposal, but something significant. We sat down, ordered drinks, and for a moment, the evening felt right. But then her phone buzzed against the white tablecloth. She looked at the screen, and her face shifted. "It's Tyler," she whispered dramatically. "He's spiraling. His ex posted a picture with a new man. He says he's in a very dark place." I took a slow drink of water and told her he should call a therapist. She insisted he needed someone, meaning her. She said he was alone. I reminded her that he was a grown man and that we were at a dinner meant to celebrate us. But she would not let it go. Her phone buzzed again. Tears filled her eyes, and she announced she had to leave, right now, because he might do something dangerous. That was when I sat perfectly still because I knew the frame was about to break. I told her calmly that if she walked out to comfort another man on our anniversary, she should not come back to my house. She accused me of being manipulative, heartless, jealous, and controlling. I told her it wasn't about a crisis, it was about priorities. She chose him, stood up, and walked out, saying we'd talk later. I stayed. I ordered my steak. I ate alone and enjoyed the wine. Then I drove home, walked to the garage, and picked up several heavy-duty parts boxes I use for shipping engine blocks. I packed every one of her belongings. I worked quietly without anger, because when you're truly done, the emotions are gone. You just clean up. You clear debris. You prepare for a new project. At 10:30, I loaded everything into my pickup, but then realized I should not deliver them myself. She left me, so I shouldn't deliver her baggage. I called for an Uber Connect XL. A driver named Ahmed arrived with a Suburban. I tipped him to help load the boxes and gave him Tyler's address, which I knew because she tracked Tyler's location for his various panic attacks. I attached a note on the top box. He needed you. Now he has you. All of you. You don't live here anymore. Happy anniversary. I watched the tail lights fade down my driveway. Then I changed the gate code, locked every door, poured a scotch and waited. In the days that followed, my life settled into a quiet rhythm that felt almost strange at first, like stepping into a room where the noise had finally stopped after years of constant buzzing. I didn't realize how much energy I had poured into managing Taylor's storms until the air around me became still. Every morning, I woke up before sunrise, brewed my coffee, and walked out onto the porch where the wind was cool and the fields were painted in soft gold. There were no sudden texts, no crisis updates, no midnight calls from someone else's life. For the first time in a long time, my home felt like my own again, and I could hear my thoughts without interference. I spent those early mornings working on the Camaro, letting the steady rhythm of tools and metal bring me back to center. There is something therapeutic about mechanical precision, about knowing that if you tighten a bolt correctly, it will hold exactly as it should. Unlike people, engines don't pretend. They don't lie. They don't ask for more than you can give. They either run or they don't. I found peace in that predictability, and with every hour spent under the hood, I felt a layer of stress peel away from my shoulders like old paint stripped clean. Meanwhile, word continued to travel through our small community. Customers stopped by the shop more than usual, pretending they needed a quick estimate just to peek in and ask how I was doing. Some offered a pat on the back, others a quiet nod that said everything without saying anything at all. A few older guys, the kind who had seen enough life to recognize patterns, told me I had done the right thing. One even said, "A man who knows when the frame is bent saves himself years of trouble." I took that as a compliment. My lawyer, Saul, checked in as well, not because there was more legal work to handle, but because he found the entire situation darkly amusing in a way only lawyers can. He told me that Taylor had tried to claim she had been living with me as a tenant, only to immediately back down when he asked for documentation to prove her primary residency. He said she went quiet the moment he mentioned the words lease fraud. I didn't celebrate her stress, but I did acknowledge the irony. She built a trap to protect her benefits and then forgot she was the one standing inside it. My date with the woman from the car show, Jenna, went surprisingly well. We met at a small grill house off the highway, the kind of place with good burgers and better music. She walked in wearing a denim jacket and a confident smile, the kind that isn't performed or forced. We talked about cars, about work, about life's strange turns. She didn't ask about Taylor beyond a single, respectful question, and when I told her a short version of the story, she shook her head and said, "You made the only call you could." It was refreshing talking to someone who didn't see drama as a form of entertainment. Over the following days, Jenna and I texted casually, nothing heavy or rushed, just two adults with their own lives who enjoyed the conversation. She sent me a picture of her Mustang's new paint job, and I sent her a photo of the Camaro's updated engine bay. It felt easy, natural, free of the pressure that had wrapped every interaction with Taylor in the last months. There was no one hovering over her shoulder, no male best friend, waiting to pull her attention away at any moment. She lived independently, stood on her own feet, and expected me to do the same. On the third morning after the break, I got a call from a mutual friend named Greg. He was a guy I saw at the gym occasionally, a quiet sort who didn't get involved in other people's business unless necessary. Greg told me that Taylor had been reaching out to anyone who would listen, trying to build sympathy, trying to paint herself as the victim in a tragedy she had written herself. But what caught my ear was when he said that even her own friends were growing tired of her version of events. Apparently, they had met Tyler, and after 5 minutes in his presence, they realized exactly what kind of man he was. Hearing that gave me a strange mix of emotions. Not satisfaction exactly, but a sense of closure. When you see the truth clearly, you don't need revenge. Reality does the work for you. Taylor had made her choices, and life had delivered the consequences she never thought would come. I didn't have to push her off a cliff. She had walked right off the edge while staring at her phone. What happened after that was gravity, not malice. That evening, I sat on the porch with a glass of scotch, watching the sky transition from orange to violet as the day quietly folded into night. The wind was cool against my face, carrying the faint smell of pine from the trees lining my property. I thought about the relationship, the good months, the warning signs, the final snap of the frame. and I realized something simple. Peace doesn't arrive when life gets easier. It arrives when you stop granting access to people who treat your boundaries like suggestions. As the stars came out, I leaned back in my chair and let out a long breath I didn't know I had been holding. The gate code was changed. The house was quiet, and my future felt like a clean open road with no traffic ahead. Maybe Jenna would become something serious. Maybe she wouldn't. Maybe I would spend more time traveling. Maybe I would just keep restoring cars and enjoying my acres of quiet. Whatever came next would be my choice, uninterrupted, undiluted, and unchallenged by someone else's chaos. For the first time in years, my life was driving straight again. And God, it felt good.